All right, hey, welcome to Crown Council Live. I am Stuart Anderson, grateful to be with you wearing a suit and tie. I mean, I don't have the suit coat on, but I got my tie on, very formal today. Grateful that you would join us. This is our weekly program where we connect with our Crown Council community, our Crown Council resource partners, doctors, humanitarians, everything that is going on inside the Crown Council. We are grateful to have you with us, whether you're watching recorded or if you're watching live. We are grateful to produce this show and share some of the very best stories that are happening inside the Crown Council. Before we get to our first guest Jim Cook, I am going to share my screen real quick. This is the Crown Council's website, so crowncouncil.com. I wanted to make sure that we are online looking at things that are being updated. If you log, I'm going to log out real quick. So here's where you go to log in. Every Crown Council member, doctor, and team member has access to the Crown Council website. You just have to set up your own personal login information. Crown Council members can then go here, our premium member hub. And I wanted to highlight today our 2026 campaign weekly totals. So each week we update the top Smiles for Life offices that are donating. This is our list. So fun to watch and look at. Man, there are some incredible offices who are already off to a huge start. So thank you. We are looking forward to an incredible Smiles for Life campaign, which takes place March, April, May, and June. Every donation is important. Every practice that contributes, we thank you. Our big thanks to Ultradent, who is donating all of our whitening supplies and making it possible for us to make over $1 million in donations to multiple hundreds of charities across the United States and Canada. So thank you to this great group. We will update it here every week, so keep coming back, checking your totals, and kind of seeing who's winning. All right. Another thing I wanted to highlight, in your directory, there is a Smiles for Life Whitening Campaign Hub. This is in every person's directory, and on this left-hand side are all of the things that you will need to run a successful campaign. We have talked about this before, but this is where you should go to order whitening materials, order campaign materials, submit donations, how to keep these Smiles for Life patients as long-term patients. And then a few other here, additional items. We have music tracks for a reel and making videos, social media, other ideas for raising and making donations, campaign assets. You guys can read through all of these. One thing I wanted to highlight, these campaign assets are built and uploaded here for you to download. And some of the most fun things here, we've got some reels that you can download, images that you can download for your social media. But these are actually MP4 files that you can click to on a Google Drive that you can download and then upload right to your own social media channels. So super easy and fun. We hope you guys use these tools. One last thing I wanted to highlight, we have created a Charity Champions Facebook group. This is super simple. There's already about 50 members in here. We're posting updates. We're posting links. And hopefully here this week, we're going to have a discussion, some ideas that are shared amongst this group. So this is a fun, easy way for us to communicate with our charity champions. And it'll be ongoing. So whether you're the doctor or the member of your team who is working on Smiles for Life, we're going to be posting a lot here and sharing. So you can have a community, have a way to talk to each other and share what's happening, what's good, and what's challenging in your practice when it comes to Smiles for Life. So those are just some housekeeping items. Let's see if I missed anything. One more thing. We announced yesterday on the Crown Council email network about a new, I don't even know what to call it, new product, a new something that we're doing. On April 15th, we're going to start what we're calling as Crown Conversations. It's a 1 hour conversation that we are going to have where we want, it's limited to 20 doctors, and those 20 doctors are going to meet at night, 6 o'clock Mountain, 7 o'clock Central. We're just going to meet on Zoom, And it'll be a conversation, not a webinar, not a mastermind group. This is a literal conversation where we want everyone to come and share what they are doing. And our first topic is how are we using AI in marketing? So, what kind of tools are we using? How are you utilizing AI in your own personal practice? We there was a big discussion on the email network, and we want to take that and put it into actual practice and hear from each other and share together. So there is a Google Doc where you can reserve your spot, and then I'll send out a Zoom link soon. So check the email network from yesterday if you haven't done that. Crown Conversations, April 15th at 7 o'clock Central. We're going to be having a great conversation. And that is highlighted or going to be moderated a bit by Prospective Marketing, Lane Anderson and his team, who are preparing some statistics. They're preparing some materials and things that will kind of guide us through that conversation. So hopefully you can join us and be with us. All right. I know that DJ, we've got our first guest in the waiting room. This is Jim Cook from Xlure. We're going to invite Jim in. We're grateful for Jim. As he comes in, I'm going to share my screen one more time. Hey, Jim.
Hey, Stuart, how are you?
I'm very good. I was just navigating here to the old Crown Council Smiles for Life whitening, kind of our dashboard. And you are part of this. We're going to highlight that a little later in our conversation. But I'm going to kind of pause my screen here as we talk and share a bit about you and how you relate to Smiles for Life, which we're looking forward to. So, great. First of all, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's already pretty warm. It seems like summer started here in Arizona.
I
The kids are
know.
already in the pool and a little warmer this season. And
Crazy. I know. I mean, ski season's cooked here in Salt Lake City already. I
mhm.
mean, there wasn't much of one anyway. So you're already like, I bet your AC unit's been on since
That's
February.
right. That's right. It definitely has. And like I
Yeah.
said, the pool's warm enough. We got one slushy day of skiing up north in Flagstaff, and we'll just have to wait till next year, I guess.
I know, I know. Well, Jim's been with us for many years as a resource partner. Xlure, he's joining us to give an update on the clear aligner world that he is the master of. He's going to share some opportunities available to Crown Council practices, maybe some updates. Me and Jim talked yesterday. What would be fun? What would be new? How could we share some stuff about what you're doing? But in the end, I mean, it's been over a year since we talked, so I think we should start with just what where you began, what you are. I mean, the a fun recap of Xlr and how we connect together is probably the best place where we can go today. And so that's what we're going to talk about.
Sure.
Our other guests today are recorded interviews with Crown Council members. So Jim's our live guest. So we're going to just take as much time as we want today to talk. So I'll turn it over to you, Jim. Let's just you guide us where you want to go.
Sure. No, thanks, Stuart. I do appreciate that. So, Xlore basically exists to make it really simple for mostly general dentists to do clear aligner cases. Obviously, orthodontists use our product, but we just want to make it simple and easy to do. You've got enough on your plate. There's a lot of other complicated therapies that you're involved with, and we just want to give you an affordable product that you can use and your patients will benefit from.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would like to share a little bit about what's going on in the market. It is changing quite a bit. It's growing quite a bit. And, of course, about our product. And we want to speak winsomely about what we're trying to do. And if it's a benefit to your practice or to you, doctor, listening, please give us a call. Let's see how we can help you. Let me go ahead and share my screen if you don't
Yeah.
mind, Stuart.
Yeah.
And we'll get started here. So it is pronounced Xlure. I get that a lot. How do you say Xlure? Xlure is the X factor in your smile, your alluring smile, that is. And so X marks the spot for an exclusive smile that belongs to you, right? So that's a little bit about the branding. I will tell you there is a massive market opportunity, but a lot of practices don't get to benefit from it. So I'm going to give you some advice today, and I'm hoping to provide some value, whether you use Xlure or not, just ways to think about the aligner market. We do have a affordable product, but it doesn't skimp on product effectiveness. It's a very, very good product. And what I'm going to show you is it not only stacks up against some of the others, it exceeds, in our opinion,
Mm.
some of the other providers out there. And so, anyways, let's continue forward here. I want to talk about the market opportunity. Now, some of you have seen graphs like this before. This is from CAGR, just projecting the growth. According to the numbers, aligners are the fastest growing dental therapy, in the United States. So it's not something you can ignore. I'm sure some of you do some of it, but you kind of ask yourself, wow, if I'm only doing a case a month or just 6 a year, maybe I'm missing out on the opportunity. The
Mm.
opportunity next year is looking at about $1.2 billion in growth. So it grew about a billion last year is what they're saying. And 1.2 billion next year. I mean, as you can see, it's a hockey stick. I mean, it's just going up and up and up. And so it's a great market to be in. And we're hoping that you can have some success in this market. I will tell you one of the reasons it did grow so fast over the early years, especially during COVID and so forth, was the direct to consumer model was not only born, but excelling.
Mm.
And what it did was, companies like Smile Direct Club, according to some of their financials, were spending as high as 70% of their revenue on marketing. And, you got to kind of look at the half glass kind of full. It did educate the market on what clear aligners were. Previous to that, there was one big brand we're all familiar with. But, this alternative solution presented itself and a lot of people jumped on it. And then a lot of doctors, which I would agree with, thought that direct to consumer care is probably not the best way to take care of patients. Well, we feel that way at Xlure. We don't do any of that. We don't participate in any of that. And some of us rejoiced when the market changed, but it changed again. Only a matter of months ago, a company entered the space that was becoming prominent in marketing called SmileSet. You'll see them there. You can go to their website and you can get text messages like this, So direct to consumer aligners powered by Smile Direct Club. So a lot of people are kind of shocked. I talk to doctors every day and they go, "What? They're kind of back?" So they market the aligner treatment for about a third of what most of you doctors are offering it in your office, which makes it difficult to compete. Now, some doctors have told me they've even gotten calls saying, "Hey, will you partner with us? Scan the patients for us and we'll take it from there." Well, like I said, it's up to you, doctor, but I personally feel that, aligners belong in the practice, being overseen by a
Yeah.
doctor, a local doctor, right?
Yeah.
And then there's other companies that have jumped into the clear aligner space that people aren't really familiar with. And I'm kind of shocked that I'm really having to share this. So, there's a company that we all know, Direct Dentsply Sirona, big distributor of dental products. They own a product called Sure Smile, and doctors buy that product and use it. But I think it's always fair for everybody to know that Dentsply Sirona wanted a part of this direct-to-consumer market as well, and they spent $1 billion of the money they had raised in the dental space from practices just like yours to buy a product called Bite, and that's a direct-to-consumer product that's currently under FDA investigation, and there's some things shared there, but I just want to remind everybody that's not what we're about. And we don't think it's easier, as Dentsply Sirona posted on their site. We're making it easier for everyone to get a smile by not going to your doctor. I don't know. Look, hey, I'm only showing you what's on their website. But we're not about that. So let's talk about the provider-driven model now. So where are you at? So when I talk to doctors all around the nation for many years, what I found is they say, look, these other brands are really expensive. There's a lot of extra hidden costs on top of those high lab fees. And it causes us to have to charge more to the patient. So that's less people getting smiles, at least from our practice. And our margins are really small. And we're in business. We have employees. We have bills to pay. We get it, right? You do need to charge a fair amount. And then some of them struggle with case selection because they find themselves being in cases that just seem to go on forever. And they're like, how did I get into this? Am I even making any money on this? Those extra appointments add up to a lot of chair time. I'm actually going to cover some of those, and I'm not the master that Stuart says, but I did some research and looked at some average costs for appointments, and you've probably done it too, practice. So you tell me if it's accurate, and if not, just take for what I say with a grain of salt. The workflow seems to be a lot more complicated with other providers, so we try to make it really simple. And then competition is high for you, right? You've got big corporate chains in your neighborhood. You've got a lot of other dentists, you've got orthodontists. So if you're a general dentist trying to compete, it gets difficult. So I want to just throw all that aside for a minute and let's just flip the script and ask you if you could provide aligners in your practice for like 30% less than you're doing it now, would that be effective? Is that something attractive to you? What if we could help you and partner get more case acceptance? More aligner cases always lead to more production in the practice in other areas. And it really establishes that great relationship with the patient. Stuart, you've heard of these numbers, right? Like half of Americans don't even have a dentist or go on a
Right.
regular basis, right? So there's two reasons they like to come in. An attractive thing for them to do would be to whiten their teeth, which we're doing with the Smiles for Life campaign, and then straightening their teeth.
Right.
So let's get them in there. Let's get them going with clear aligners. We have a path to show where your gross margin, I can't calculate all your hidden costs, but when you consider your lab bill and what you can price it at, we've got a path for you to say, okay, well, $3,000 a case would be really helpful to us. And maybe even generate $200,000 in top line revenue every year. That's a great target to look for. So our program and our system helps you reduce those expensive appointments, refinements, and the total treatment time. Hopefully that's sounding pretty good so far. um, you can also skip the complex cases if you want. So I have doctors that say, look, let's do it. 72-week case, let's go for it. Wow. Okay. If you want to do those class 3 cases, you can do those with our system, but you can also skip some of those headaches if that's not what you're into. So we're a true orthodontic partner. We don't do anything else. This is all we do. We're not a lab that does crowns or any of those types of things. We
Okay.
want to support you. And so what I'm about to show you as we dive through this, I hope is interesting. And there's a little promise I have for you. If it
Right.
is interesting to you and you do want to try it and say, wow, Jim was compelling and this could help us, I do want to offer you half off of all your cases for the first month that you work with us. And so that's a promotion that we're running. And I'll talk to you about that in a little bit more. Let's talk about the product and the science behind clear aligners. So we use plastic to move teeth, right? That's what we do. And you got to start with a really good product. You got to start with what's widely regarded as the best plastic in the industry. And so we have a tri-layer plastic. It's got 2 outer shells and an inner elastomeric layer. That helps it be flexible, but also firm. We got to move teeth and, you need to add some strength there. And it's really the secret sauce or, this special blend of having those 3 layers all in one. Flexibility to put them on, firm to push teeth, and then also the longevity. When you have multiple layers, it's usually pretty strong. We were talking about a warm winter, but if you want to stay warm, they always talk about new layers, right? Okay, so let's talk about those layers. It makes it crack resistant. It makes it the plastic is super clear. So I don't want to mention the other brands, but some of them have swirl lines in them and are kind of opaque. Ours are really, really clear the way we manufacture them, and they're also obviously stain resistant. Less insertion force when you put them in, because when you're an ortho, it can be a little painful moving those teeth. But this is the key that I love. 50% more orthodontic force over time. And so some studies have been out there that show that this particular plastic is moving teeth well into the 10th day. So it's far more effective than other previous Gen 1, Gen 2, single layer plastic, that kind of thing. Now, the shape of our aligners, and I'm not sure you could be able to see these on camera. Oh, maybe you can. It's a straight cut. So we follow what's generally regarded as a much more effective solution. Instead of a deep scalloped aligner, we cover those interproximal spaces, which gives us more leverage, more surface area. If you ever put a shovel in the ground and then not push back against the dirt in the garden, you're not getting anywhere. So you need something to push against, more leverage, and that seems to work much better. Now, I will tell you, it is a lot clearer, but it's also more comfortable. We recently had a clinical director, orthodontist in Texas, have a patient switch midstream to this product, and she
Huh.
was really impressed at how comfortable and clear it was. I had another doctor who had done 700 cases with Invisalign and had the very first patient come in and said, "Oh, we'll jump in the chair. Go ahead and put those aligners on so I can see how they're fitting."
Mm.
And the patient said, "Well, doctor, they're already in." So the doctor was sharing this with me that they were so clear she couldn't even see them in. So we love hearing things like that. Let's talk about manufacturing. Now, Unfortunately, we're a country at war right now, and my analogy kind of leans on a big aircraft carrier in the middle of the ocean, right? The bigger it is, the slower it turns around. I've heard something like, what, 10 miles? It takes 10 miles of open ocean for a
Wow.
aircraft carrier to turn around. So there's some outdated manufacturing styles that other people use. Our manufacturing process is state of the art. We use as many as twice as many thermoforming bars to form those aligners. Thermoforming plastic is still the tried and true form of making aligners. It provides that load that when the aligners are pushed against, they bounce back to the shape you formed them in. And so very high quality. I will tell you something else about our manufacturing. We don't have to fight the battle of customs because we're an American company and we make them right here in the United States. So many competitors make them in Mexico and some other places, and that's fine. It just sometimes delays the shipments and so forth. And tariffs are still a thing. That's just a reality, which can increase prices. So when you're an American company making an American product, we can get them to you fast, tariff free. So right now, this is something I want everyone to know. We're currently producing aligners in 5 business days, and we're shipping them
Wow.
2-day air to our customers all around the nation.
Awesome.
From what I understand, that's probably the fastest turnaround times. And so one of the reasons doctors like to work with us is patients want to get started right away.
Yeah.
Now, one important thing about aligners is refinements. When you put brackets and wires on someone's teeth, they're not taking them off. But you can take an aligner off, and now it's not going to be effective. And so a lot of people say, well, why do refinements happen? And just to clarify, what I mean by refinement is patient gets all their aligners, they start wearing them, and somewhere along the way they're not fitting and therefore need to come in for an appointment, get a new scan or impressions, and order new aligners. So why does this happen, right? Is it the product that they're using? Is the product that our office is using just not as effective? It's possibly a component. I'm going to make a case that we have to make a great product, but there's other reasons. Who's doing the treatment planning? Now, I'm just giving you feedback from what I hear from doctors. I'm excited about artificial intelligence. You have to be because it's coming, and you can either be pessimistic and be sad every day, or you can say, wow, this might improve my life. Okay, so I'm hopeful, right? But currently, when designing smile designs, treatment plans, we favor only using doctors to do that. We don't want to rely on the software just yet. And from what I've heard, cutting corners has meant problems. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. And then finally, patient compliance. That's the big one, right? And so there's been, solutions presented to possibly improve patient compliance. Nothing beats just a nice, firm conversation with your patient about these won't work on your bathroom counter. They've got to be in your mouth
Right.
to work, right? And so let's make sure we use them. Let's look at a recent study that was posted in 2023 in the American Journal of Orthodontics. Okay, so based on some research, a very large competitor in the space had 500 cases looked at, and they found that 96% of them had to go through a refinement. And we're going to talk about what the dollars and cents of that actually means, but 96% of the patients needed to order more aligners because the teeth weren't moving into place.
Huh.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and not only that, the average patient needed 2.5 refinements during a total treatment time of 22 months. Now, this 22 months, I'm not going to get off this. This is important. That's a lot of chair time.
That's a
There's
lot.
not only a cost to that, there's an opportunity cost to doing something else in your practice. 22 months is too long. Now, that's case selection, of course. You can choose more mild cases, but this is 500 patients across the board. So if you were to say, okay, Jim, well, how does Xlure fare? What is the current refinement rate? On a multi-year study, we found that our refinement rate was only 15.4%.
Hmm.
That's 6 times lower than
Wow.
one of the biggest competitors in the space worldwide. And we're really, really proud of that. And people are like, whoa, that's 15%. How do you do that? I'm just about to explain that. But before I do, what is the cost of a refinement? Well, they might say, well, we get unlimited refinements. They'll just make as many as we want. Yeah, but what about your time? What about the patient satisfaction? So, what is the cost? I have all these numbers. I knew this would be way too more complicated that people want to do. We're not a math class, but let's just look at one example of a hidden cost for just even those checkup appointments. So, when you have a patient that's in aligners, you decide how often you want to see the patient. Is it every 6 weeks? Is it every 8 weeks? Just to make sure they're tracking, right? And so, how do you determine the cost? Well, lots of research shows there's a cost of about $300 an hour to run a practice. Every hour you're in operation. And Stuart, I don't know if that's way off or if you guys have numbers that you've provided, but
Sounds about right.
okay, so $300. So let's say a 15-minute checkup. They come in, yep, those are fitting well. You're off. Okay, well, as little as 15 minutes is 75 bucks, okay? So what's your opportunity cost on top of that? What else could you be doing for your 15 minutes? The other number that I've found in research is somewhere between $400 and $600. So we'll just say $500 of production time. That's the time that you're in office doing things, $500 an hour. So that's 15 minutes that you're checking up on a patient. Well, it's part of the deal. You got to do it. That's 200 bucks. Okay, 200 bucks for the appointment. Every time you see someone, the hard cost and the opportunity cost. But what if it's not a 15-minute appointment? What if they're not fitting? Now you have to rescan them. And how long is that going to take to order that refinement? Well, it's going to at least take double that, right? And more likely, probably triple. So now you've got the patient in there. It's 45 minutes. Now that appointment's now costing you $600.
Hmm.
So how many refinements do you want to do? As little as possible.
Yeah.
So let's talk about our track record. Currently, 75% of all the treatment plans we prepare for doctors are accepted without any request for modification. We must be doing something right if 75% of the time doctors say, yep, that's what I'm looking for. It's converse with one of the leading providers. It's about 80, was it 81% of cases need a modification to the treatment plan. Another number, 85% of our cases on average treat out with no refinements necessary. I'm very proud of that. But the number that's not an average, it's just a fact, is 3.5% of all cases needed a second refinement. Only 3.5% of cases needed a second refinement. Now, how do we do it? Okay, first of all, we only use doctors in the treatment planning process. Doctor, when you submit a case to us, another doctor on the other end is spending the time, only does ortho. That's what he or she does, prepares that treatment plan for you in about 2 business days and gets it back. Now, something else that's important. Our protocols follow a classic, solution that's going to lead to more predictable outcomes, and that's sequential movements, okay? I'm not a doctor. You already figured that out. But basically, you understand that if we move teeth sequentially, it's more predictable what's going to happen. If you do simultaneous movements, you might end up with more hassle. And so an average refinement with some of the other providers I've seen as long as 5 months. Now you've extended treatment time 5 months. How much chair time is that, right? That's a lot of money. Our average refinements are more like 5 aligners. So it's much shorter because we followed a more predictable movement. And when you add that with a great product, you get a good solution. Now, we have 2 types of treatment planning softwares that doctors use. We have a more straightforward, loads in your browser viewer. You can look at how many steps it's going to take and zoom in. For doctors who are looking for a little bit more insight and want to do some of the treatment planning themselves, we have a more sophisticated treatment planning software. It's a license. It loads right on your computer, right in the browser. You can, decide what kind of attachments you want, different shapes. You can move the teeth yourself. You can zoom in on all kinds of details. We do offer that kind of sophistication. There's things like only one other company I know of currently even offers, like integrated hybrid buttons for class correction and all that stuff. So I'm not going to geek out anymore on the clinical. We'd love to meet with you and talk about it. Again, our focus is easy, right? So most of our doctors are very busy. We just talked about how much every 15 minutes is costing you if you're not doing something that's making the practice money. So our portal is really straightforward. You can add a case in just a couple minutes. Our onboarding doesn't cost anything. We do need about 15 to 20 minutes of your time to make sure that you're all set to go, and we'll do that with you. All right, let's talk about pricing, because cost we've talked about. Let's talk about lab costs. So we try to do a more straightforward approach. We do include things like refinements and retainers in our price. So it's difficult to do an apples to apples comparison, but we don't shy away from sharing this. So let me go ahead and tell you. A mild case is what we determine to be about 4 months, about 16 weeks. And your total all-in cost with retainers would be only $595. Now, a moderate case, which is probably more common, right? It takes time to move teeth. We don't want to move teeth too fast. Speed is not something we're interested in when we're moving teeth. So an 8.5-month case or up to 34 weeks is $1,095, and that's all in. That includes the cost of your retainers and refinements. So 70%, based on what we see, the case selection made by doctors on average with all of our doctors, about 70% of them fall in either the mild or moderate. So we're going to talk about what that cost is to you. Now, there are more complex cases. If you're doing class twos, cross bites, class threes even, you're going to get a much longer case. But they are rarer, especially since you're the one choosing them. And I don't blame you for not wanting to get too complicated. You can refer those out. Cases that are more than a year only make up about 5% of the ones that our doctors are choosing. But again, we can do them. We're game if you are. Let's see what this means. When you compare your case selection and you play the averages, this is important. We want to get your average case cost down to about $1,000. If out of 10 cases, 2 of them are mild, look, we'd all love to do all only mild. The problem is it's not a big enough improvement on the patient's smile that many of them want to do that. It's just a tweak. So it's usually in the moderate section where you're going to be spending more like $1,000. But that's great because it includes, those hidden costs as well as retainers. I can't say so much for the other providers. Some of you are paying over $2,000 in lab fees. And if you do more cases, you can get discounts or work with other providers. Nevertheless, getting to $1,000 in total cost is going to be quite difficult. So currently we're sitting about half the price of one of the leaders in the space. And then how does this reflect then on how many cases you can do? Well, if you can get your average case cost down to about $995, you hear this number, Stuart, all the time. People are like, well, just charge 3 times your lab bill. It's just like a rule that people use. It's a little more complicated than that, right? I mean, we talked about extra chair time. How long is this going to take? Am I going to make any money? But I will tell you, if you follow a model like this, you're probably going to get a lot of case acceptance. If you can charge under $4,000 and only pay $1,000 for your lab fees, I can't calculate your hidden costs, but this isn't 3x, this is 4x. So you should be able, with a much better product, affordable one, to do more cases and make more money. And if you do that, there's a straight line projection of how much you could grow the practice. Growing a practice means bringing on an associate or paying off some other debt for equipment or getting another location. So you fill in that blank. What would $200,000 in your practice help you with this year? And there's a way to do that. Now, last thing I want to talk about case acceptance is we found that focusing less on the beauty aspects, let's say, of a beautiful straight smile, is the overall oral health benefits, right? I mean, we know this because we're in this industry, but a layperson coming in might not know that it's actually much better for them health-wise to have straight teeth. They can clean them. They're not going to deal with all the other, how many things that are coming out, right? We see them every day about how your overall health care is determined how well you take care of your teeth. So let's reduce those dental injuries by having a proper occlusal, having a much better bite, having less headaches. Some of you know what TMJ feels like. And if we can improve those things, it's awesome. I had a friend who has a diastema, and he was saying, it doesn't bother me that much. I'm like, you do know you have a lisp, right? And he's like, I do. So it can improve your speech, your appearance, of course. It won't distract. As professionals more and more are wanting straighter teeth. They can do that, and they don't have to have braces on. So these are some of the things that I coach teams at Lunch and Learns on what to focus on. So in the end, what we've talked about today is a much more affordable product with an average lab cost of less than $1,000. Wow, that'd be great. How about a low refinement rate? Maybe as much as 4, 5, 6 times less than what you're currently using, and a target opportunity to grow the practice with aligners. So our program basically includes the best plastic on the market that we believe in and have selected, 200% more accurate manufacturing, a straight cut that's shown to be more effective in treatment. We accept every scanner. That's a big one. So we have lots of ads that run that say, hey, you're using this the scanner. Other companies won't work with you. We work with everybody. And in fact, if you don't have a scanner yet, I hope you get one. But until you do, we can take those PVS impressions. You can just send those to the lab and we'll pour those up. A smile design will be done for you in about 2 days. In about 5 business days, we produce it, 5 to 7, depending on a few things, and then we'll ship them to you 2-day air. Refinements are included, and so are retainers. And like I said, if you register with Xlure, there's no cost. We don't charge $2,000 to become certified with us. We can have you being a provider just in a short 20 to 30-minute phone call or Zoom call like this, making sure you're onboarded, your team is ready to go, and we are offering that 50% discount.
Wow.
Now, another reason to work with us, and this is a big reason, I usually lead with this. Thank you for your time, but I want to talk about Smiles for Life. So, we have a unique participation with Smiles for Life. We do things differently here. Um, this one, the way it works is if you're a provider with Xlure and you want to do good with us, what we'll do is we'll basically donate all of the costs associated with doing the case. You select the case you want to do, you identify that patient, and the patient then will donate to Smiles for Life. They pull up the form. It looks like this, actually. I'll come back to the other slide in a second. We typically say, at least do it for 1950. I mean, that's pretty much almost as like direct to consumer price. I mean, it's hard to get aligners for that price. And so if you did, let's say you do it for 3,000
Okay.
or 2,000, right? Stuart, they just pick that. The donation is made to Smiles for Life. We've had doctors in the past take payments and just make the payments to Smiles for Life for the patient. But either way, the money goes to Smiles for Life. It doesn't go to the practice. It's added up in your total. I saw Jessica Perkins is at the top of the list, one of our doctors. We love
Yeah.
Jessica. So good job. Thank you for doing that. But we can also donate cases, right? So no cost to you, doctor, other than your time, which is valuable. I certainly understand that. But if you want to do some good with us, we'll donate all the lab costs, and the patient will get a great smile. And
Incredible.
yeah, yeah.
Very
Any
generous.
questions? Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, and I'm not saying one is better than the other when you do whitening, but what an incredible donation from the standpoint of that would be like 10 Smiles for Life whitening cases. So, I'd actually be interested to know, I haven't dug into the numbers, if they're like, if you did 4 clear aligner cases for the Smiles for Life campaign, you'd be on the stage at the annual event as a top office. So,
Right. That's right.
very cool.
That's
Very
right.
generous.
So
Very
we're here
generous.
to partner with you. If you guys want to do this, let's do it together and have a big win at the end of the year. So yeah, obviously, if there were any questions or any things that you want to highlight from what we talked about today, Stuart, I could answer those for a few minutes. I know you have other
Let's just
interviews coming up.
Yeah, let's just talk about the system of connecting with you, Jim. How would a Crown Council member take first steps? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really simple, right? You just go to
Okay.
xlure.com. It's 4 letters. It's
Okay.
really simple, xlure.com. Click on the register button. It'll take you about 2 minutes, maybe one, to register. We just need to check your dental license and get you scheduled. So once you do that, a calendar will pop up. Choose a convenient time. Your team can join if you want, or it could just be you. Some doctors do this on Fridays or when their office hours are. And I personally onboard every single doctor, DSO, anybody. I
Nice.
personally want to meet with you. We're very relational based. You're not a number to us. Many of our doctors are friends of ours. We've been working with them for a long time, and that's what we want to establish. How can we help you in your practice and walk through this? And one of the things we will do, I didn't quite go through this because we have a calculator that we've been working on where you can
Right.
plug in how many cases you do a year, how much you currently spend on those cases, and what your savings would be to work with a partner like us. And yesterday I was with the practice and we're going to save them $20,000 this year. So that it adds up. It's important. You may say, oh, well, $400 more a case to this other provider is not a big deal. Well, there's more to it than that. So this is how you would connect with us. And I'd love to meet you.
Cool. Thank you, Jim. I mean, I've known you for years. Very grateful for how hard you work. You are incredible at what you do, and then also just very genuine. I'm grateful to trust everything that you do as a resource partner. Always looking out for Crown Council members and providing a solution in the very best possible way. So grateful for you and our relationship, and thanks for sharing today.
Grateful for you, Stuart. Thank you so much for the time. I hope you have a great day.
Hey, you
Thanks,
too.
everyone.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, everybody. Okay, bye.
Bye.
incredible. It's almost like too good to be true. So I hope that you can connect with Jim. We are full supporters of Xlr, grateful for them and their relationship with Crown Council, and even more so for his very generous donation to Smiles for Life. What an incredible contribution to that program and everything that we're doing there. So thank you, Jim. Grateful for you. All right, I'm going to open up a little interview I did with Dr. Danny Tyre. Danny Tyre has been a member of Crown Council for many years. We've never had him on the live stream. Uh, Sometimes challenging to get doctors to join us for the live stream. So I did an interview with Danny and recorded it, and I'm going to play that now, and hopefully you enjoy it. So here's my recording with Danny. All right, hey, let's just get started. Whatever,
Okay,
let's just do
I'm
it.
in.
Okay. All right, what's up? Stuart here with Dr. Danny Tyre. Dr. Tyre, how are you?
I am so good today, dude.
It is March 12th, 2026. We are just together at the annual event in Salt Lake City. Although crazy, it's already been a month, more than a month, really.
That's crazy, dude.
I really like the weeks after the annual event. It feels like it was so fun. It was successful, but the farther we get away from it, I'm like, well, gotta plan the next one. We gotta come up with something else.
Dude, you know what? The you know what's so great about like the few weeks after the annual event, you feel like you are like the
I
rock
know.
star,
I know.
you know? And then if then you start going like this. Hey, what happened to all those cool things that we talked about doing? Like,
Who's gonna implement all of those
yeah.
things?
Wait, what happened to all that?
That's so good.
And so
Um,
you're just like relighting this little fire constantly.
Always. Well, hey, why don't would you spend just 1 minute, introduce yourself, where you practice, size of your team, where you went to school, just like basic, high level. Can you do that for us?
Yeah, I totally can.
Let's do it.
So, okay, so my name,
Yes.
Dr. Danny Tyre, obviously.
Yes.
Um, I have been in practice since 2009
Okay.
is when I
Look at
started.
look
I
at
feel
that.
like I feel like I've been in practice 5 years.
Okay.
Um, but we are now into year, gosh, 17.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Great. Great.
It's awesome. Um, so I grew up in Salt Lake City. I went to did my undergrad at the University of Utah. Um, Dental school was at the University of Pacific
Okay.
in San Francisco. I I got into dental school one because um, I rode the coattails of my siblings for
Mm.
one.
Great.
Um, that and people took a risk in saying, "Hey, I think this Danny guy might be pretty cool," and and um, why I got into dentistry. Um, I was a fine arts major at the University of Utah, and someone told me one time, "What are you going to do when you graduate?" And I said, "I don't know."
Mhm.
And they said, "Most artists don't make money till they're dead."
Perfect. Great.
And I
Great.
and I was like, "That is awesome." But that didn't follow with my plans of
Your goals.
with my goals. Um, Someone said, "Have you thought about dentistry?" Because my dad was a dentist.
Okay.
And I went, "No, I haven't thought about it." So I took this pre-dental class. I walked in the first day and they had a block of clay sitting on the desk and some instrument things. And they said, "We're going to carve a first molar and learn the anatomy of a first molar." And I went,
Hmm.
"Okay, I got this." And
Hmm.
it just went from there.
Oh,
So,
I thought you were reaching over to grab the tooth that you carved. I thought that was going to be the
oh,
big reveal.
dude, can you imagine?
Some ceramic tooth, and I have that tooth here. I've carved it.
No, dude, I probably botched it thinking I was the coolest kid in the class and I threw it against the wall.
Um, in past interviews,
Yeah.
sometimes this world of my dad's a dentist kind of backfires. Can you talk about what you learned from watching your dad be a dentist and why you were like, yeah, I could do this?
Oh gosh. Okay. Um Yeah, why, what was it about watching my dad that made me realize that I could do
Mm-hmm.
a similar thing? Um, my dad is the most amazing man in the history of the world. Um, you know, beside from the fact that he was a great dentist, um, he's probably the most genuine, kind, good person there is. And if I was anything like him, I would be way more successful. Um, he's the greatest. So to me, watching him do dentistry was cool because he could help people with their problems, right? And I think as just a man in general, you like to fix things and you like to help people. That's built into us regularly. But the way people would hold him with prestige as who he was, but then, oh, it's Dr. Tyre. He saved my life. Oh, he's this, like I watching that is kind of what made me go, gosh, I want to do that. I don't know if watching him made me realize that I could do it.
Right.
But it made me want to.
I get it.
So, um, the thing about my dad is he worked 4 12s and then a half day Friday, which was a 6 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Wow.
Um, and he did that for, you know, 35, 40 years. Um, and I think what that made me realize is I didn't want to work like that. Um, I didn't want to be that guy that worked that crazy, but I loved what he did. I loved how people respected him and still do, right? I still have patients that come in that talk about him, ask how he's doing. A lady yesterday said, "Did you know I went on a date with your dad?"
Oh boy.
And yeah, but but she was asking how he's doing. She was asking him all about like how he's feeling, what he's up to, and stuff like that. And you can see that respect value, and I wanted that. So that is probably what really made me dive into it more.
Nice.
It wasn't seeing him do these intricate little things. It was more of how he was seen and portrayed and valued.
I love that. What is your favorite part and most challenging part of your current lifestyle as a dentist? I mean, like what is it that you're like, oh man, this is whoo, and then the other half is like, oh man, I got to really buckle up to get through some of this. Any thoughts on those things?
Yes. The easiest part
Okay.
is hanging out with people.
Hmm.
I get to talk to 40 different people a day.
For real.
You know, I get
Yes.
to ask them fun questions. I get to hear fun little things. Um, you know, my favorite thing to ask certain people is, I'll walk in their operatory and I'll be like, "Tell me something cool going on in your world today."
Nice. Yeah.
And they always go, "Oh," sometimes it takes them a minute to think about it, but I get to hear just about the life of, so many people in a day. I love that. I like people a lot more than I like teeth.
Mhm. Dude, that's
That's,
a great quote.
bro, that's the truth though.
That's a
Like,
great quote.
if I could get paid just to sit and talk to people, then I would do it all day long.
Huh.
Um, but the most challenging part of my job
Yeah.
is, um, well, and this might be a personal thing. I hate telling people they have a problem.
Yeah.
You know,
Tough. Mm-hmm.
um, it bites me every time I have to do it, and sometimes I still stutter through it. I've been doing it for 17 years.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, I love being like, "Hey, you've got a problem, but I can help you."
Exactly. Yeah.
And
Keep going.
so, no, 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 that's it, really.
I
So
love
that's
it.
the hardest part for me.
Well, it's a I mean it's a diagnosed I don't want to call it challenge, but m- wanting to be not wanting to be that bad guy is a hard part of the profession. Um and addiction, having that approval, wanting people to just love you and be like, hey man, listen, this is gonna be tough what I'm gonna tell you. It is hard if you're not ready for us. So I like that.
Dude, I I must have, I mean, a therapist could have a great time in my brain because I have that, whatever I don't know what you would diagnose it as, but I just want to be loved by everybody.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
So
Well, you're not. You're helping. You're doing good.
I'm the helper.
Hmm. So yesterday I did a little podcast with my social practice, and a few of the questions that came out were, listen, doctors are business owners, right? You're managing a team, you're managing um,
Oh,
financing a building, and it's not something that you were necessarily prepared for. Can you talk about that? Like just how have in the last 17 years, what have you learned about the the business, the people, the um, your communication? I mean, how are you managing and learning how to run that part and do that part of your life?
um, so I had a partner in the practice up till about 2 years ago,
Hmm.
who had been here for like 20 plus years. Um, and and so it was very easy to share the stresses of business, right? I remember in school there was a business class that was a 1 day thing. Like we took a 1 day business class,
Perfect.
right? No one said, "Hey, by the way, you're going to have to learn how to do A, B, C, and D and learn business terms and business taxes and things like that." And I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed when it comes to any of that stuff. I know that for a fact. Um, but having a partner who had been doing that, he kind of handled a lot of that. And then we would talk about it and we would make decisions. Hey, by the way, we got to do this. Oh, okay. I didn't even know we had to do that. And in the last 2 years, I realized that there was so much um, that my bookkeeper was just doing because she'd been doing it for a long time and I had no idea. And now I'm going, holy cow, I don't know half of what goes on behind the scenes. Like, put me in an operatory with sitting there with the patient, we'll have the best time ever and we'll do phenomenal dentistry. But then I have to answer these emails and I'm like, can someone please tell me what EBITDA is? Um, or oh, I forgot that, we have the 401k stuff I have to go over. We got to do this, like running the business, dealing with employees in general,
Yeah.
hiring,
Hmm.
um, training. I, it's a whole side of life that I do not excel at. So I just try to surround myself with people that
Smart.
excel at it.
Smart.
That's all.
Great. It's great advice.
Oh,
Um, what about, I want to hear your philosophy of care. Like when you and your team are standing around and you're like, hey, just a reminder, when we see Susan today, let's treat her like this. Or can you talk about how you treat patients? Just like what is your goal, your mission? I don't know, your motto when it comes to your practice, your care philosophy.
um, well, it's like I said, like I like people a lot. Um, so my philosophy, without pulling out this,
Hmm.
you know, my scout motto, whatever. Um, I would have to say, if I could sum it up easily, it would be I'm just going to take care of people and make sure that they know how cool they are.
Hmm.
Because everyone's cool even when they have teeth problems, right? So my care is I'm going to care about you. Oh, and by the way, we got to look at your teeth.
Nice.
Um, I heard this. This is not mine, but I heard this. I don't know where I heard it, but there's this, they call it the sandwich effect, where
Hmm.
you have to tell someone something good, then you get into the things that you got to address or the problems, then you always have to follow it up with something good.
Hmm.
Um, I was in a meeting one time at an office that I used to work at up in Layton, and the orthodontist in that office was saying, "I'm having a really hard time getting patients to trust what I say." And I was overhearing this, and the owner of the practice was like, "Well, tell me how's your consult going? Like, what are you doing when you come in?" He goes, "Well, I come in, I introduce myself, we go over the x-rays and we talk about what needs to be fixed." And I was standing there and they didn't want my advice, but they got it because I said, and because I just said, "Look," I said, "Can I just say this? Like, parents are bringing their kids into the orthodontist already knowing that their teeth are janky, right? They know there's a problem.
Mhm.
So why don't you walk in and go like this, dude, are those the new Nike 270s? Bro, I love those shoes, you know? And then go, hey, let's talk about your teeth for a second,
Yeah,
right? And that's always that's how I address everything.
I love it.
I don't know. Does that make sense?
You mean genuinely caring about the way people feel? Yeah, that's a pretty good
Okay.
philosophy. Like,
I
hey, hey, listen, pal, I actually do care about you.
you said that in like 6 words, and it took me like 5 minutes.
No, it did not. I mean, it is a lost principle, though. Me and Steve have done a skill of the week about that, which is like spending 3 extra minutes with a patient just to talk to
Oh,
them makes all the difference in the world.
I
Just
remember that.
yeah, just 3 minutes. That was the only thing that can sometimes separate a good and a bad experience with a doctor. So,
Oh, that's right.
um,
I remember that one.
what about I like a time machine. Let's time machine Danny back to I don't know, as soon as you graduate and you're standing in front of him, you've got a few minutes. What are you saying to yourself or young students? Advice, maybe things you do different or something that you would say to yourself, knowing what you know now.
Oof.
Pick two things.
Does this have to be dental related?
No, that's okay. Yeah, not dental. That's fun.
Um, Gosh, speak up for what you believe in.
Hmm.
Um, and don't let anyone else tell you what you have to do.
Okay.
Um, do the dentistry that makes you happy.
Hmm.
And that, you know, find out what you love, right? Find out what you love about this field and go with it. Like, um, I remember Brian Harris saying that he did two full mouth cases one day and he went home to his wife and he said, "Gosh, I love that. If I could only do that, I would love this." And she turned to him and said, "Well, why don't you?"
Yeah. Dum dum.
Yeah, and he's like, "Huh?" Right? I just heard him say that the other night, but see, that's the only thing that is different or that's different about me is it's not the dentistry that I love, it's the people. So I want him to stay in my office and let me do everything. So I don't have like one or two or three different dental skills that I hone in on. My goal is to get people to come in and let me do everything because we're friends.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know. So I would say, you know, find out what makes you the happiest um, in the field of dentistry, but also outside of it. Don't let anyone, tell you you can't do it and run with it
Hmm.
and do good. Do good.
Yeah,
That's what I would say to myself.
that's good. It's I this is such a cliche, but I mean, so much easier said than done. Sometimes it just
Yeah.
takes that. You just have to learn it. You have to learn that lesson sometimes the hard way. So that's awesome. All right, I'll stop there. There's about 6 more minutes with Danny, and we'll post this to the Crown Council website so you can watch the full thing or share it with your team. But grateful for everybody that joined us today. Next week, we're going to do another planned webinar that requires registration. So we'll send that link out to everybody in the Crown Council, put it on the Crown Council's Facebook page and email. So register for that. Steve will be hosting that expert webinar next week. Next Thursday, same time, 11 Mountain, 12 Central. Thanks for joining us today, live or recorded, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.